So, some good news for progressives out there. Bernie Sanders recently made a tweet that surpassed Donald Trump's most liked tweet ever. I'll read that to you now. Bernie says Donald Trump believes climate change is a hoax. Donald Trump is an idiot. Quite savage, in my opinion. Here's Donald Trump's greatest liked tweet. it's it's a ridiculous thing to read honestly from the President of the United States, but he says ASAP Rocky released from prison and on his way home to the United States from Sweden. It was a rocky week. Get home ASAP. ASAP! Exclamation point. I love the use of the dollar signs and the S's there. I mean, cool. He's so hip. But anyway, I mean, Bernie talking about climate change and how Trump is an idiot. I mean, Bernie really tapped into something. He's almost up to 1 million likes now, and I think it's because he's just saying what everyone else is thinking, but often the media kind of ignores that, the media likes to play it as Donald Trump being savvy, being some kind of like Machiavellian caricature who has this like grandiose ambitions and grand strategy for winning re-election and passing policy changes and changing the country, but really many times Trump is an idiot. And I mean, we could talk about exactly why he's so stupid on climate change. I mean, the only real options are that he's so pretentiously stupid that he thinks he's smarter than all of the climate scientists who devote their entire lives to study the planet, or he's simply unwilling to use facts and reason to actually come to a conclusion about climate change. So he's an idiot. I mean, if you go against what many of the smartest people in the world have been saying for decades without any evidence, then you're an idiot. And the other option is that he understands how important preventing climate change is, but willfully ignores it, like many of the GOP do. I mean, you have these GOP people, most of them went to Ivy League schools, you know, many of them have law degrees, okay? You don't get that if you're stupid, okay? These people, many of them are willfully ignorant. Now, Trump may be an exception to the rule because he is actually very stupid. I mean, you can see that whenever he talks is very obvious. But these GOP members and Donald Trump, they they just they don't care about climate change because they're sitting in their high castles and just know it won't affect them. And for the most part, it may not even affect the people of the United States to the severity that it'll affect people around the world. Because climate change really will affect the poor more than anyone else. And when I say poor, I don't just even mean poor people in the United States, but poor people throughout the world. I mean, relative to the world, the United States is a fabulously wealthy country. Now we have such high levels of income inequality that many people don't see that wealth. But compared to the many third world countries, we're still living a life of luxury. When climate change, comes in full force, I mean, it's going to affect the poor people around the world the most by far, hugely disproportionately. I mean, you saw that. The best example I could think of is during the California wildfires, which researchers have said are getting more severe and more common because of climate change. So these wildfires were ravaging California, and the media, started covering it exponentially more when it started to come to rich neighborhoods. And then these rich neighborhoods ended up hiring their own firefighters to protect their multi-million dollar homes, while the rest of the poor houses burned to the ground. I mean, that's just like a microcosm of what's going to happen all over the world, where poor people in third world countries, their homes on the coastlines, they won't be able to afford new homes inland. And then you saw this for example, in Hurricane Maria that hit Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is much less wealthy than the mainland United States, even though it's part of the United States, because it's not a state. We don't treat them like so, and they don't have as much wealth. So they don't have the infrastructure to deal with hurricanes like that. Their buildings aren't hurricane proof like people in Florida, people in Texas, people in Louisiana. They have hurricane proof buildings all over the place. But no, in Puerto Rico, even a minor type hurricane can be devastating, and they lost power for months on end. I mean, there's an investigation where many thousands of people died as a result of the negligence of the Trump administration and just not proper responses to the hurricane. And we're going to see this all around the world. But the wealthy, the rich people in the United States, they won't feel the effects of climate change. I mean, when there's global droughts and famine, who do you think will have the most food? I mean, the wealthy aren't even going to notice it. You know, if bread prices double, what the hell do they care? It's still a couple dollars out of their pocket. But for the people in third world countries, that could be the difference between eating once a day or not at all, you know? It's really devastating. And the GOP and Donald Trump just willfully ignore this or are really too stupid to see how large of a problem it is. I mean, talk about a immigration crisis. Wait until the entire third world is devastated from drought and famine, and then see when they all flood the southern border. I mean, it's going to be nothing like we've ever seen in this world. The level of the refugee crisis that will come from climate change, from droughts, famine, natural disaster, and the GOP is just going to use it as another tactic to fearmonger against immigrants in the end. So, anyway, congratulations to Bernie Sanders for tapping into this stupidity, the media's lack of just calling out what's so obvious, pretending that Donald Trump has these like grand plans and is just some master strategist playing 3D chess. They love to use that term. We need to just call this stupidity out. And, in the end, Bernie Sanders getting more likes than the president. I mean, he's got the grassroots support, he's got the support of the people. Donald Trump can have all the money, the wealth, the lobbyists, but in the end, Bernie Sanders will prevail because he has the support of the actual American people. So, have a good one. Subscribe for more content. Peace, everyone.